Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank the Creator for giving us this beautiful day here today in Ottawa. And we're glad to be here. We are, of course, in the traditional unceded territory, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin people. We are the Prince Albert Grand Council, 12 First Nations in the Prince Albert Grand Council, 4,000 to 5,000 people, a big geographical area that covers central and northern Saskatchewan. And we're here this week in Ottawa for a leadership trip to meet with the government, the opposition, and the other ministers. We are, I can say, in a state of crisis in our communities, and we are dealing with these crises, but we need help from the government. Yes, our people are struggling to survive with basic health care and proper housing or safety in their communities, and lives are being lost, and that could be saved. The state of health care and housing is an emergency. Overcrowded homes full of mold, which spreads diseases like tuberculosis. Not enough access to mental health care or elder care. And these are preventable crises. These are preventable. We call on the government and leaders. We need more than promises. We need immediate action. And this is not about the next election. We're here to save lives in our First Nations and our communities. And there are absolutely treaty obligations. Treaties are sacred agreements, not just words on paper. So we need action. Our communities can't wait any longer. And we are here to ask the political will to act, to work with us to protect the lives of our people. Yes, we understand that the MPs are worried saving their seats. But we're here, again, to save lives. And they should be worried about that also in our communities. I thank you, and there's some chiefs here that will speak.
Thank you. My name is Marcel Head. I'm the Chief of Shoal Lake Nation. You know, trips like this to Ottawa on behalf of our people, we take it a serious note, you know, that yes, we do have a crisis back home. Crises that should have been prevented when the government should have honored and respected and implemented treaties. Shoal Lake Nation and the rest of the Prince Albert Grand Council, the communities that we represent, go back to the original, the spirit and intent of treaty. We talk about the day before treaty, the day of treaty, the day after treaty. Our people have long desired and envisioned a lifestyle that would accommodate and meet the needs of our people based on the land and the resources that we have been blessed with by the Creator. When our ancestors signed treaty, they were given specific instruction before treaty not to give up the land, not to give up the resources. They were specifically instructed to include all of the things that we are talking about, the issues that we face today. The day of treaty came. all of those wishes, the desires, and the vision that those people that signed treaties on our behalf. The government failed to fulfill those promises. The government failed to fulfill the promises made by the Queen. And by that, our people spoke in the Cree language, and the interpreter could not interpret properly of what those desires and those wishes were. So more than half of the promises that are made today in that treaty were not written in the written text of treaty. And soon after, the day after treaty, the government took that treaty and went with it and started exploiting our land and our resources. Today, I stand here along with my fellow chiefs that we will take back what is rightfully ours, and that is our land and our resources. But this time, we'll do it right. We're not ones to break treaty, but we are here to convince the government of the day to implement treaty in such a way that it honors and respects the treaty and the promises that went with it. One specific need is housing. Our houses are deplorable. They have to be up to standard. And the funding that we do receive is very minimal, and we have a growing and aging population. We need the government to respect and recognize this as a crisis. We shouldn't be here coming to Ottawa to ask for more resources, to build more houses for our people. If government today still respect and honor the treaties, they would gladly support, this need in our community. The government of the day has failed to comply with that need in housing, but that's just one issue. If you had honored and respected the treaty, we wouldn't be standing here asking for resources to build houses. If you had honored and respected the treaty. Today, I stand here along with my fellow chiefs within the Prince Albert Grand Council to speak on behalf of our people. We've been elected officials, and we've been entrusted with that right to speak on their behalf. We can go on through the list of all the needs that we have today, but today we're just here to voice out our concerns to the government officials, and you'll be hearing more about that. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Chief Tammy Cook-Searson with Lac La Ronge Indian Band, and I'm really honored to be here on the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and the Anishinaabe. We come here together as a collective, as a Prince Albert Grand Council, and we've met with multi-parties, including the government. We've brought in our issues. We have many, many issues in northern Saskatchewan. We represent a big part of northern Saskatchewan, over 45,000 of our community members. And in northern Saskatchewan, it's 85% Indigenous population. We do have the highest rate of mental health issues, as reported in other reports in northern Saskatchewan. So we're dealing with many issues that are intergenerational trauma as a result of the residential schools, the Indian residential schools. We do have one school in our territory, and it's the Timber Bay Children's Home that has not been recognized. The survivors are still waiting to be recognized and to be compensated. And we have been working through the federal government, the provincial government. We want the process to have recognition for that Timber Bay Children's Home. So that's something that we brought forward to the government. And as mentioned, we do have a high rate of houses that are overcrowded within all our communities within the Prince Albert Grand Council. We have multi-generations that are living in one home. We have homes that have mold, homes that need renovations. We do get funding for housing, but it's always lacking because it's based on a formula that's from the 1980s and it's 2024. So we do need an increase in our housing budgets in order to meet the demand. We have many intergenerational trauma issues resulting in gangs, violence, drugs, alcohol, addictions within our communities that we need to address, and we need to be able to get that proper funding to be able to help our community members. And we come here as a collective to be able to talk about the issues that are important to our community members. And we want to make sure that we're conveying all the trials and tribulations within our communities that we need to address as a collective. And we're really we thank you for this time and this opportunity to be able to voice our concerns from our communities and to be able to be here because we're here. Our people don't feel safe in our communities, and that was one of the top priorities that was identified within the Lac La Ronge Indian Band was communities, members not feeling safe in their own community. So it's something that we have to talk about is the public safety and being able to provide that support to our community members and needing more detox, more mental health and addiction supports, more treatment centers, a place where family members can go and heal. So this is what we're here for, and we're here as a collective. Thank you. Dini.
So just a couple of other areas of importance here is in emergency management. We are requesting more funding in that area. Our lands, our traditional territories, ancestral lands are burning up. And I know we're dealing with climate change, but more can be done from the provincial government, but also the federal government has a role. And that's to prevent the stress of evacuations with our elders. So that's another important. The other important area is community safety, public safety, and I'm talking about policing. Yes, we still have our communities policed by the RCMP, but we are working towards, and we need funding to work towards a self-administered policing in our First Nations. Very, very important. And then we urge the parties, all parties, the government, to make Indigenous policing an essential service. So the policing services that are in existence don't have to struggle worry about funding, that the funding is there, guaranteed. And that's what we want, work towards in our area. We have many challenges in our communities, challenges with what the chief said. You know, the drugs that are in our communities, the alcohol that's been there for so long. You know, we need the government to recognize our bylaws, so we can enforce those bylaws, and those are bylaws that they can be enforced by the RCMP. We have many challenges, so we ask on this government very important for the far north. You know, being isolated communities, the cost of a house, you know, twice, maybe 3 times as much as building a house around Prince Albert. We have to look at the high cost of that. The roads in the north, but then also the deal with the northern communities, with the Treaty 8 and the Treaty 10 communities that are working with Nunavut and Northwest Territories and north of 60 negotiations and agreements. That has to be signed, and the money this has been going on too long, you know. But the area of taxation and that agreement, you know, we're dealing with treaties here, and that taxation shouldn't be there. If there's any questions from anybody.
We will now take questions on Zoom. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function. Nous allons maintenant prendre les questions sur Zoom. Si vous avez une question, s'il vous plaît, utilisez la fonction main levée. Is there something you'd like to add to your statement?
What's that again?
Is there something you would like to add to your statement?
Okay, anybody, Chief? No, I like to really emphasize, of course, that Chief Head with the treaties. And all the important treaty areas, I think we're looking at education, very important, and post-secondary with that. And also health. In the Treaty 6, all the treaties, they have the medicine chest clause. And we are struggling in our hospitals, with the what we face with racism, sometimes discrimination in our hospitals. We need better treatment with what we have with the treaties. And we call on, in our area also, in Prince Albert, where they're constructing a new build of a hospital with $900 million I'm grateful that they work with us, but the federal government should be putting money into that hospital. So we as First Nations deserve better health care in that hospital. But we're grateful with what we have right now, but we're asking on the federal government for that funding, for those Indian monies for that hospital. Probably about I don't know what the percentage, but a big population of First Nations in our region. So that important health care, non-insured benefits, a struggle with that. And also the housing, very, very important. I like to stress that again. Housing, we need more adequate housing in our communities. We've struggled with CMHC with what's there right now. We need better housing, emergency housing. And we need, of course, to work with the governments, both level of governments, and making the workforce in our communities with those journeyman carpenters. They can make those houses. The journeyman electricians, so they can wire up the houses, so making that workforce in the community, and the plumbers. We need to work with the governments on that. So housing, very important, but also very important, what the Chief talked about is our land and our resources. The free and prior informed consent. That should be something that the government struggles with, but that should be there. That shouldn't be something that it should be there. With the United Nations Declaration on Indigenous Peoples. So those are the things that we're here. We're here, like I said, on a leadership, a trip, on a mission. To speak for our people, to speak for our communities. We are losing lives. The state of mental health in our community. We need more. We need more resources. Policing. I'll mention community safety officers in our communities. The CTAs, the community tripartite agreements, those have been negotiated for a long time, but we need to be part of that to co-develop those community tripartite agreements. Many areas. Many areas that we're dealing with, but our communities are beautiful communities. We live in beautiful lands where our territory is. But these are the things that we're struggling with. That maybe the regular Canadians enjoy good homes. We don't. So thank you very much. I thank the media for, and I know we always thank the media because we got many stories here. But we don't have time for that. Many stories. But we're telling that to the people that we're meeting with, the MPs that we're meeting with. We're telling those stories to them, and so I thank the media. They will carry our story forward, so that the people know what the state of our nation. But again, I'll say we have beautiful communities and beautiful territories, and I thank the media again, and again acknowledge the territory that we're in. Merci. Merci, so tindige, bedabia.